measure. Let's bring in the Democratic Congresswoman Tammy Duckworth. She's an Iraq War veteran and sits on the House Armed Services Committee. Congresswoman, it's great to see you. Thanks for coming in.
It's good to be here this morning.
Thanks very much. So you voted against this measure to arm and train Syrian rebels, but you also come to this from a unique perspective. You are a veteran. You have seen combat. Why then could you not support the president on this measure?
I can't trust those Syrian rebels, Kate. We don't know who they are. I'm not comfortable with the vetting process, and I don't know how long this commitment is. The vote on Wednesday was really just for a 12-week bill that would allow us to fund them $500 million for 12 weeks. And I just feel like this commitment is far longer term than that, and it deserved more of a debate than this initial short-term debate that we had.
When is that debate going to happen? I've heard many other members of Congress, Democrats and Republicans, saying the same thing, that they are not necessarily comfortable with what they know about the process of vetting the rebels, that they can trust that they are moderate opposition. I even heard Congressman Mike Rogers say we shouldn't even call them moderate opposition anymore because they really are not so moderate. They're just less anti-West, if you will. Do you think the debate's actually going to occur?
Well, I hope they do. I think we need to do our job here in Congress and have a debate over a new use of military force, an authorization for use of military force. The president is operating under one that was passed in 2001. That's a long time ago, and we need to set up the real parameters. You know, in some of the briefings that we've gotten from military leaders, they came right out and said, once we do this with the rebels, this is not a 12-week commitment. This is a multi-year commitment going into the 2 or 3 year range, and we can't go into something like that in this nation without Congress doing its job and setting up those parameters. So I hope that we come back from the break and have that conversation here.
And as I said, a lot of members of Congress, they do share in your concerns, but you also have folks like Congressman Dutch Ruppersberger. He's a Democrat from Maryland. He is the ranking Democrat, the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, and he comes at this from the perspective of President Obama is the commander-in-chief, and in a time of serious crisis, you don't weaken the commander-in-chief, is what Dutch had said. When you hear that, is there anything that you could hear from the president, hear from the White House, that could set aside your concerns to change your position to get your support?
Well, I asked a lot of questions in all the briefings that we've had so far, Kate. And, you know, some of the questions that I want to know is what happens after the initial 12 weeks of this commitment? So what happens if these rebels are actually wildly successful and able to defeat ISIS in Syria? What next? Are they going to take that American training and those American-made weapons and turn them on each other? Are they going to turn them on Assad? We need to get rid of Assad. But if they turn them on Assad, then does that commit the United States into a ground war in Syria? And where are our allies on this? There's so many unanswered questions.
Well, and those seem like not just unanswered questions, but very valid questions. What are the answers you're getting?
Well, we're just getting the answer that I got, which is why I voted no, was vote for this. Give us the $500 million initially, and we need to start training because we need to go after ISIS now so that they don't continue to grow. And my response is, if we're going to go after ISIS now, why would we not start with a $500 million commitment to a known ally who's effective, like the Kurdish Peshmerga? You know, these are strong, fierce fighters alongside Americans for a long time. If we're going to make this kind of investment and really attack ISIS, why are we not helping the Kurds out first? And then we'll talk about those Syrian rebels and, you know, folks who we need to do a little bit more vetting. But the Kurds are right there, and we should be working with them.
Wait, so Congresswoman, in these briefings that you have received, and we're talking, it's not like you're coming at this from a conservative Republican perspective. You are a Democrat who has seen combat. You are a veteran. When you're asking these questions, you're essentially getting the answer of give us the money and ask questions later and we'll give you the answers later?
Well, the answer that I'm getting is we need to do this now. We need to do something immediately. They're continuing to grow in strength. I agree with that. We do need to act. We need to destroy them. We need to contain them. But my question is, great, what is the plan beyond 12 weeks? And if we, train these folks 4 weeks in Saudi Arabia, we send them back to Syria, They don't have logistics capability. You know, coming from a military perspective, who's going to get them the bullets that are American caliber to fire out of those American-made weapons that we're going to give them? Is it going to be us? Are we going to, or is it going to be contractors? Is it going to be Blackwater? How are we going to help them logistically? Who's going to provide oversight as to how they act? And those answers, coming from a military perspective, just have not been answered for me in a way that's satisfactory that would have gotten the yes vote for me.
It's clearly not satisfactory to you, not satisfactory to many members of Congress and probably many members of the American public who want to know the very same thing. At the very same time, as you said, you're up against a very serious threat. This is a complex issue, but I appreciate you coming on so we can continue this conversation, and hopefully that debate in the lame duck will happen.
I hope so, too.
Thank you. Congresswoman Tammy Duckworth, thank you so much.